Drive podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to another week of the podcast, The Outdoor Drive. This is your boy East Coast Trev, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mr. Madman Mardick.
What up?
What up, buddy? This is episode 229. I'm excited. That postseason scouting stuff, dude, it's something good.
Dude, my favorite thing. I honestly, it rivals actually being in a tree for me. I just love dissecting and putting in the work and just exploring.
I think the whole full circle aspect of it is kind of for me, like, like getting out there and shed hunting and stuff, but like getting out there and understanding like what is going on postseason, like all those things that you missed throughout the season and walking around and following deer trails and all that. Like it's a blast. Every second that I have, I'm now in the woods trying to figure out postseason what's going on more than, it was always used to be finding antlers, but now not so much, dude. I'll tell you this, it's definitely more important to find out where the deer are now so that you can kill them later, because, like, I just had the best venison burger I've ever had in my entire life, and if I run out of venison, I'm going to be super, super upset, just so you know, because that was the best venison burger I ever had. Chakowski's did a phenomenal job, and it's phenomenal burger, so.
Phenomenal.
It
doesn't
is.
get any better than that.
No, it doesn't. Just for the greater good. The burger's for the greater good.
To touch on what you were getting at before, to me, the thing is there's no greater feeling in the world than when you release an arrow on that target buck.
It's true.
But
unless you know that you're going to miss it.
But to me, what makes that 15 seconds of he's standing there, you're at full draw, and you release that arrow and just stuff one behind his shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm.
What makes that so special is the hundreds of miles of boots on the ground, the postseason scouting, running the trail cameras, the countless hours e-scouting, dropping pins, like all that shit adds up. All that hard work and dedication leads up to that 15 seconds. That's what makes it special.
No, I totally agree with you, man. And now, it's funny is after, obviously a lot of you guys know that are following the story, like I found a new piece of public land and missed a giant buck, blah, 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 blah. But for me now is like dissecting that whole entire piece of property, because I've never stepped foot in a lot of it. Like I went in there October, found sign and hunted it, right? And was successful. But now to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and like seeing like going in there postseason and like watching the tracks and following deer trails and figuring out where bedding and all this stuff is like on foot, like it's kind of wild. Like I literally found the spot within the spot within the spot. Like it's just weird. Like it's super weird. And it's cool to see it all. And as it breaks it all down, and now's the time. I mean, the snow tells it all. Like the snow tells it all.
For sure.
And
it's all gone now. It melted today.
I know it did, but it's gonna get. We're supposed to get another 3 inches on Sunday, so
yeah,
it should be pretty good.
But yeah, back to that spot you're talking about. You were hunting that with blinders. Like you went in, found the sign, started hunting, and didn't really get much more into that piece of property. So now you get to get down and see what's over the next hill and really dissect that area. So it's pretty exciting.
No, it really is, and starting to see like where like that one area had a ton of scrapes and rubs, and as you start to kind of venture off from it, like there's really not much. Like a little bedding here, a little bit this. Like it was a perfect funnel with it's a good spot, and I'm excited to kind of break it down even more. And after having this podcast with Ryan, it kind of put a lot more into perspective for me as far as like what to do and how to be successful in that spot. Because I mean, as you pay attention, some of the questions I asked, no,
I was laughing at a couple because I was like, I know exactly why he's asking this question. Like that sounds familiar.
That's kind of funny. Yep. So hey, let's sweep the floor a little bit, do a little bit of housekeeping, dude, and get the show on the road, because nobody wants to hear us. They want to hear Ryan. That's what they're here for. So, first and foremost, we are title sponsored by Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. If you guys haven't been over to there, there's a 25 to 50% off right now across the whole entire board for Huntworth gear. Some of the best. Now's the time to get some of that Cocoon and all Cocoon and just kidding. All your heat boost stuff, guys. Now's the time to be late season hunting with that for coyotes and whatever else you want to get it. Now's the time to do it, especially with the prices that they are right now. Latitude Outdoors, latitudeoutdoors.com for all of your mobile hunting needs. Some really cool products from them at ATA that they released. I'm super excited to use that bow hanger and stuff. It's not on the website yet, but some really good stuff, you know, and everything's in stock. Now's the time to get that stuff and mess around with it and kind of get yourself going. You know, tax return season, you know, start thinking about your new mobile setup if you know what I mean. Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. You can get on over there, get your grunt tubes. It is postseason, but now's the time. What's better than getting your grunt tubes right now and your turkey calls? How about that? The pot calls, box calls, crow calls, maybe not yet, but some owl calls to come, and you know, your mouth calls. Now's the time to be driving around in your car, going from home to work or going to church or wherever you're headed off to, and you know, just play around with a turkey call. Get yourself familiarized. Don't wait like everybody else on public land till the day before the season to play with their, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's practice now, guys. Let's practice now. And last but not least, Bowhunters United, bowhuntersunited.com. They are a free website to get on to and become a member of, and they are the advocate for us as bow hunters. So, Steve, do you have a killer's corner of any sort of kind or anything? I didn't see anything on there
No,
across
I
the
didn't
board.
either. Shout
No.
out Josh Brower. I know he scooped the shed
Mm,
yesterday. I don't think he posted it
not.
on the page yet, but I'm gonna make sure he does.
Yeah, pretty cool because he had like the actual trail cam picture and stuff
Trail
of
camera
that deer.
picture, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yep. So,
And big shout out to Chris Page too. He was his first day of Maine guide service. Pretty cool. I
oh, I
saw
didn't even
that.
see that.
Yeah, so he
Oh,
started
cool.
his main guide license. So congratulations to you, buddy, and best of luck. And we had a good buddy of ours too, Jason Davidson, who just passed his captain's class. Huge, man. Congratulations, probably. And Sean. I know he doesn't listen to the podcast because he's an idiot, but Sean Russell.
Mm,
He actually just passed his captain's class too, and he's doing some stuff down there. So
damn, I thought
congratulations,
it
you
was
guys.
hard, but if he passed, it must not be that hard.
Yeah, truth is. But anyways, all right, let's get on over to Ryan, dude. Let's get this show on the road.
Let's go.
All right, guys, we are back on the phone with the Moose, Ryan Glitsky. What's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. Real good.
I appreciate you jumping on. I know on this between all the times of other podcasts and postseason scout, and I don't know how you could find time to join us tonight, man.
Oh, we're here, man. I love it. I love talking whitetails. I can't pass it up.
No, I couldn't imagine. I mean, look behind you. If you don't love whitetails, you're in the wrong place.
I've
Well,
gotten lucky a couple times.
a couple times. Better be lucky than good, right?
You're damn right.
Well, let's turn this thing right into four-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Ryan Glitsky from Southwest Pennsylvania. I've been hunting for 32-ish years, somewhere around there. I work at Westinghouse Nuclear Fuel. I'm a union job, so kind of pays the bills. Pays for the addiction back here. So, but it is whitetails 24/7, 365 for me. The good Lord and my family come first. Third place is whitetails.
It's a good place for him, I guess.
Mhm.
There's enough of them back there. Well, we were talking off air. I just want to bring light back to it, honestly. You know, a post that you had a week or two ago about kind of, you know, the right reason of doing things. And I just wanted to shed some light on that because I think that it's kind of important. And we were talking about it off air, but I think it's something to bring to everybody and how important it actually is because we all get so ate up in everything that we do and everything. And now, you know, and what it takes to actually do it and the stress that comes behind it.
Yeah. The amount of stress, like everybody, I've talked to a few people here the last few months and that everybody's like, how do you get into the circle and how do you do this? And I tell them, I said, once you're in it, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
No.
You meet some phenomenal people. Absolutely. That is the best thing about it, is talking to gentlemen like you and other people in the business. It's great, but you start to put too much pressure on yourself to kill a damn whitetail.
Mm-hmm.
I love chasing whitetails, but end of the day, the world does not end if you don't kill a good buck. And I've got myself caught up to the social media and all this stuff over the last couple of years. I'm part of Whitetail Addiction Alone with Custom Gear, so you got that pressure there on being sponsorship, stuff like that. You don't always podcast, and you start thinking you have to kill something to be somebody, and all that stress starts to come on you. And this year, I made that post there. I think I come back from Iowa, and I had a bad hunt in Iowa. We've all had it. It's part of it. But before I went to Iowa, I was already writing a check out to my taxidermist. That was my mindset. And then I get out there and reality hits. It ended up not being what I thought. Didn't have a good hunt. I made a lot of mistakes myself, got sloppy because you're, like I said, you're trying to impress people, I guess you could say, for the gram or whatever social media platform. And when I got out there, I was forced into hunt. Like, I was almost wanting the hunt to be over before it even started because of the stress, you know what I mean? And like I said, a couple of days in, I just quit having fun. And when I come back from that hunt and I was unsuccessful, had a bad trip, I come back here to PA and I had a couple of doe tags in my pocket, man, and it was rifle season. And I said, F this. I grabbed that rifle, I went to the mountains, and I got back to freaking hunting, got back to the tradition of hunting. You know what I mean? I think we've lost that over the last, really since the 90s, probably, I guess. Whenever Realtree come out, Primos, Juries, all this stuff started coming out back in early 90s, wherever it was. We all started putting numbers on deer, and that's when they started going downhill, I feel. And lately anymore, it's all about how big of a deer. It's basically coming to it. This has become a big dick contest. It's all this freaking be.
Mm-hmm.
And if we continue down this path with that mindset, plus the technology advancements are getting out of hand. It's all about how easy can we do, how we can make this, how much money can we put on the table for this lease or this property or this. We're trying to buy whitetails now, and then we're using the technology to make it easy. And man, we are losing it. It's not going to be here for our kids, I don't think, if we continue down this path.
I totally agree with you. I had that kind of come to moment myself a couple of years ago when, I killed like a high 160s in Ohio, and I came home and I thought, I had the season of my life, and, I filmed it the whole 9 yards. I had been doing a lot of filming and stuff, but finally, okay, now I hit the apex. I shot an absolute giant on camera. You're like, okay, then you go into the next season, and I got spanked left and right? Like, same thing. Bad decisions. You just thought that you were on top of the world, that you're going to now film another 170 getting killed. You know what I'm saying? And so I did the same thing that you did. When I came back home, I came home the second week of November, and it's in the middle of the rut. And the first doe that walked by, I smoked it because I was like, I need to get back in that mindset that I'm hunting a hunt. Like, I'm, from my roots, I've been a killer, and it's just killing deer. It's not big deer.
100%.
It's just, I'm a killer, man. I just love to kill.
That's how my mindset kind of went in. What I've been changing and what's going to change for 2024 here is, I've been blessed to kill some pretty good whitetails in my life, but the last 2 years have been probably my toughest 2 years I've ever had, other than when I was first starting hunting, trying to learn everything. And when you start to focus on the prize, man, it all starts to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
When I killed all these whitetails in the wall, was when I just, like you said, I just went to go hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I love shooting doe. Every year I'll shoot 4, 5, 6 doe. But I always shot 1 or 2 bucks every year. And yes, I'm holding out, but if I have a tough season, the way I look at this, I got a tough season in PA, man, I'm holding out. I pass some good deer up, and it gets down to the last 4 or 5 days. And a day, I'm a freaking killer. 110-inch 8-point comes by. You know what? My tag, my hunt, and that makes me happy. And that's successful season for me. Sometimes you just get your balls kicked in, and you know what? Sometimes everybody says you set these goals and you can't move off those goals. That's bullshit. We all have tough seasons. Sometimes you need to take a step back and come to realities. Like, sometimes, like I said, we get caught up in all these freaking inches and numbers. I'm from Southwest Pennsylvania. 120-inch deer is a hell of a deer. I'm hearing guys on these platforms, on these podcasts, almost downplaying 120, 130 caliber bucks. and they haven't even killed one. Like that drives me nuts, but that's because of the mindset. We're getting brainwashed
Mm-hmm.
with antler size. There's nothing wrong with killing a big buck, but when that's your sole purpose to go out in the timber, that's wrong. And that's the wrong mindset to have, and that's the wrong thing to pass on to future generations, in my opinion, and newer hunters.
I totally agree. I agree with that, and that's where the kind of the TV aspect of it kind of took that turn, right? Where like
Yeah,
we watch all these people, these big names that we grew up watching, monster bucks,
yeah,
and they shoot giants, but we never
yeah,
went out in the woods as us growing up. Me, you, Steve, we never went out looking for that giant deer because we knew that it was unachievable. But now
yeah.
that people are starting to see that, I think on those YouTubes, on podcasts that they're killing, good deer. Now everybody is setting that one goal to go and shoot a giant deer. Yeah, it happens, but like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna base my whole season on trying to kill a 200-inch in New England. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So why
Yep.
why are
Yep.
we trying to do that? I don't get it. We
Yeah.
would like yourself. I mean, if you and this is one of the things I've said this for years. If you're consistently killing 120s and 130s, you're just as good as a hunter as someone in the Midwest killing 160s and
Oh,
170s all
100%.
day.
Yep. I mean, you look at some guys out there. I mean, if you're hunting the pressure, like say somewhere like New Jersey or something like that, where what they can kill $5, they can bait, you
Hmm.
shoot rifles. Like you got a guy somewhere in there that's killing 110-inch deer consistently every year. I mean, that's saying something. Like I
Hmm.
said, you're only as good as the area you hunt. End of the
Right.
day, that's how this is. You cannot compare yourself to somebody's in the Midwest if you're in East Coast or Southeast or wherever you're at. You can't compare yourself. I mean, even being here in Pennsylvania, I got some buddies that hunt some primo property in Pennsylvania, kill 130, 40-inch deer every single year. Their own doesn't take anything away from it. They're fantastic hunters, but
Right.
that's just not realistic for me. I can kill 130, 40-incher. Let me tell you, I'm going to put some work in to try to get on a whitetail like that.
And the other thing is, and guys don't realize this, like, so, all right, you had a bad hunt in Iowa. Now, if you're only
Mm,
hunting that one state, like, say you were only hunting PA and you had a bad season, then everyone's going to be like, oh, where's Moose? Where's he at? Like, he didn't kill a big deer. But then you
yeah,
kill, and you could go 2 years trying to kill that 160 in PA,
yeah,
and then you finally kill that 160. Now you're a hero. And it's like,
yeah.
well, bro, did you not remember? Like, he's out there doing it. He's hunting his own hunt. Like, what is it?
Yeah,
I
this is a roller coaster. Whitetail hunting for the average guy, the average guys like us that are hunting, average properties or whatever, public or private. This is a roller coaster. You're going to have the good years up here and you're going to have the years down here. That's part of whitetail. Now you can be consistent on the high and low of that roller coaster, but you may have to adjust your, that quality animal or the amount of deer. Maybe one year you just shoot 5 or 6 doe. You don't kill a buck that year.
right.
Next year, hey, you kill that 140 and a couple of doe. Then the other year it's kind of slow. You kill 110. Yeah, that's how I look. To me, that's a killer, and
Yeah.
that's my opinion. It's not always trying to kill a Boone and Crockett every year. If you have the property, you have the area, man, 110% go after it. Good, you do you. But I want to do me, how I want to hunt. I'm going to do it the way I want to, nobody's going to tell me any way other way about it.
No, I'm totally with you on that. Like, there's still that instinctual thing, and going back on, we're killers. Like, I'm gonna kill
Mm-hmm.
what makes me happy, and it maybe it's maybe it is a 110-inch 8-pointer. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, that makes me a bad person. And the thing is that goes along with that, guys kind of and I find myself doing the same thing sometimes where I'm a, I'm a little bit reluctant on posting up that deer online
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's that thought of you, or you're like, oh, maybe I get a better angle, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's in
Oh
your
yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
because you don't want to get shunned on for something
Yeah.
stupid, like.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think, Steve?
It,
You're quiet over there on this conversation.
Man, a lot to take in. I think where we went array is when we started getting away from age class and talking about inches,
yeah.
because I could shoot a 5-year-old in southeastern Connecticut. He might go 80 inches, right?
That's
So
a hell of a deer.
you could shoot a 2-year-old in Kansas that might go 140. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once you
Yeah.
start comparing inches across the country, they don't stack up. But age, like, a 5-year-old's a 5-year-old's a 5-year-old's a 5-year-old. You know,
Yeah.
and once we started playing with inches, it kind of got crazy.
Yeah, like I said, we were talking a little off air there. You see the pressure in the industry, social media influencers, whatever all that stuff is, and it's sad to see. I see a lot of stress on a lot of good friends, over this. When you stop enjoying the hunt. Why are we doing it then? Really? Why are we doing this? If we can't enjoy the hunt, we're only chasing that prize, man. You're not enjoying it because we're only here for a short period of time. I'm 47, going to be 47 years old. You start to get a certain age, you realize, halfway's probably in the rearview mirror now. So I'm trying to slow down, don't get caught up with all this stuff, and just go out and enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. The listeners have heard most of this story before, but I'll share it with you. This past season, I dedicated most of my season to hunting one particular very special buck for my area. And it checked all the boxes for the Instagram. It was hanging, banging, mobile hunting, all the cool
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
bow only, all that. And I had fun. I passed a ton of deer. I had my goal set. It was rough. I made mistakes. I had more dumb shit I did this year than you could imagine. But the highlight of I skipped opening day of rifle season with my dad to go bow hunt this deer instead. And then 2 days later into rifle season, I said, you know what, fuck this. I
Yeah.
called my dad and said, I'm coming
Yep.
with you in the morning.
Mhm.
And my dad's he's got a trigger finger that, likes to play. So, I went with him in the morning. He had preset ladder stand on private land. Like, it doesn't get any more boring than that, right? Like,
Yeah.
not public land, not hanging and banging, not mobile. He didn't kayak in, any of that cool shit, right? And I hung my saddle off the back of his ladder stand, and he shot a tiny little 2-year-old. I filmed it over his shoulder, and probably one of the highlights of my hunting career.
Yeah.
Filming my dad shoot that deer.
Yep.
And
I know exactly what you're talking about because I had a terrible 2022. I didn't kill a buck in 22. This year, it was the 25th of October. Had a decent 3-year-old come up. As soon as I shot, I ground shrinkage. I knew it, and I even said in my video that I was like, but reality sets in. And I was happy that I killed him. You know what I mean? I was still fired up, and then. Like I said, I actually made a post about it. I called my dad and said, hey, can you bring deer card out? And I know there's going to be a day here sooner than later that I'm not going to be able to call my dad. He's not going to be at the end of the logging road with that deer card anymore. That's what reality starting to set in with a lot of this for me is seeing my dad's getting an age where he really can't do it anymore. He's not going to be there eventually. That's where like a situation like that time with your family, with your dad is there's nothing. There's not a buck world record whitetail that should replace that.
right.
It's funny
That's where
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
your post that most of this is referring to really hit home for me because I got caught up in it. The most important thing to me was being on that ridge where that big buck runs, and I had to be there every day.
Yeah,
waiting because any day could be the day, right? And I had to. It took a lot for me to be like, I'm not going to be there today. I'm going to go with my dad on the road and sacrifice that morning. But God damn, I'm glad I did it.
And it's I did the same thing Steve did this year, and not one of the things was I was filming and it's like November 5th or November 7th. We have a 10-degree break in temperature, and I'm in the stand and I've seen 7 bucks. I've already missed a 130s. Like I'm having, I'm like I'm not getting out of this tree. It's 8:30 in the morning. My father texted me. He shot a buck. And I texted him. I said, "Dad, it's early, dude." I said, it's November. It's the raw. I've seen this many deer. I'm sending him the footage and this, that, and the other thing. And I clicked on the GoPro to talk to the GoPro on just to kind of keep on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally hit the GoPro and I'm like, screw this. I said, why am I doing this? November 7th in 5 years, I'm gonna pray that my father calls me to go hunting with him. Or go and
100%.
drag a deer.
Yep.
I got out of the stand at 9:30 in the morning on November 7th with a 10-degree break after seeing I don't even know how many bucks, and I went and I dragged the deer with my father. Like it was that kind of moment where I'm like, dude, why am I doing this? Like, what am I doing this for? Like, I'm gonna miss my old man, and I don't hunt with my dad like I used to. I used to hunt with my dad every Saturday morning, and then you get stuck up on that. Chasing those big deer and mobile hunting and trying to shoot those big deer for what? Like, yeah, every single video that you ever see of me shooting a deer, my dad's the first one I call. But my
Oh, same
dad
here.
begs me to go hunting with him. My dad begs me
Yeah.
to drag deer out with him. Like, what am I doing? Like, why? And
Yeah.
that stuff that stuff hits home, man. You can't
Yeah.
change that. Your dad's the one that
There's
brought you
nothing
there.
wrong. They said there's nothing wrong with chasing big deer. Absolutely nothing wrong with chasing big deer. But at the end of the days, when this is all over and you're done, you hunted your last hunt. I don't think it's going to be about the trophies on the wall. It's going to be about the memories getting there. And like I said, it's something, like I said, reality's starting to set in for me, getting a little older. My dad's getting older. My kids are getting older, but they're starting to become, young hunters themselves. So it's been really eye opening. And like I said, we get back to the social media, the influencer shit, YouTube, and all that stuff. Like when I see the stress, like I said, on a lot of people, it's really hard to watch anymore. I will say on a positive note, starting to hear more people speak out about some stuff. I think people are starting to realize, we're losing woodsmanship. Everybody listen to this right now. Can you walk out tomorrow in the woods, okay, to go out and do scouting or hunting or whatever you're going to do? Can you light a fire without a lighter or a match? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
something so like we've lost the woodsmanship. People think woodsmanship, what is woodsmanship? And just those little things there. Can you skin a quarter of deer in the middle of nowhere? All these little things. Do you know the difference between a red and a white oak? Stuff like that I slack on. I'm trying to become a better hunter, better woodsman with that stuff. Just those little things, because we're so technology, it's the palm of our hand, and that's all we utilize anymore to make the hunt easier. And I think that's taken away from a lot of the stuff too.
Well, think about it like this. How many people are the newer generation that are hunting now, and we've talked about this a ton, that have ever hunted without a trail camera and actually
Yeah.
could find deer and track deer and do all that without, I remember the days, and Ryan, you probably lived it, where we were using trail timers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
Yeah, and it went to you had to run to whatever store to get them developed. I remember you'd get 30 pictures back, all freaking blank or a twig or something. Then you get like one deer picture. But you were so excited over that.
Just the tail.
And now it comes right to your phone. I mean, like I said, we can go down a rabbit hole here with cell cameras, cameras, and everything else. I enjoy running cameras. It is on my mind. I do like running standard SD cams. That is my preference on video mode. But I run cell cams. I don't hunt over my cams. I like to use stuff for historical data, put those in areas I'm not going to get to. But I'm actually thinking about not running cell cams, at least for a year. Take a step back and, like I said, trying to get back to more of the woodsmanship side of this. I mean, I spend a lot of times in the timber. I get the woodsman stuff, but sometimes I let technology kind of creep in too. I use mapping stuff on my phone. I use cameras. I bought a brand new bow last year. Hell, I got an e-bike. You know what I mean? But where's that? Where's the cutoff? And you're seeing a lot of things out there nowadays where it's crossing the line, in my opinion. A lot of things right now.
Yeah, and what makes it actually fair, and what makes it fair chase at that point, right? I mean, like, even though they're wild, like, let's be honest, like, some of these big deer that these guys are killing, like, what is it actually fair chase? Because they're using their cell cameras, like, on instant, like, Boone and Crockett went through that, where they weren't, some of these deer weren't going to be accepted in that, but going back on it, they're losing the woodsmanship. Like, if you brought them into, where you are in Pennsylvania in the mountains, like, could they survive? Like, no.
Yeah. That's what you said. It's unfortunate that we're losing it, because once we lose it, I don't think you're going to get it back. That's why, like myself, if you're going to talk it, you got to walk it. And that's how I kind of look at this now. I enjoy these podcasts, YouTube. I like to educate people. Like I said, we talked off air. We all learn every day, just like everybody else. Nobody's ever going to master this. But if you have a little bit of knowledge, I like to share that. And I'd like to continue passing on the woodsmanship side of this.
For sure.
I think the biggest problem with the hunting industry is that it's an industry, and there's money to be made, and there's product to be sold. And every product that you can buy is a replacement for a skill set. So along the way, people think that if I buy a new bow, I'll be a better shot. Well, just shoot the one that you have. Practice.
Yeah.
Spend time in the backyard all summer. Buying a new bow doesn't make you a better archer. Buying more cameras doesn't make you a better scouter. Buying the latest and greatest tree stand doesn't make you a better mobile hunter. You got to develop the skill that goes with the equipment. And people
that
want
all helps. Yeah. I think you become a good woodsman like me. I don't buy cheap shit. I'll buy, I'm part of Lone Wolf. I'm going to buy the best bow I can afford. But I have that base that, I have the foundational woodsmanship that I use that just to make, be honest with you, if I'm sitting in a tree and it's minus 20 degrees, I want the gear on that's going to keep me out there for 12 hours. That's how the technology part that I like to utilize it, not necessarily to make it easy to kill the whitetail. Sometimes just to keep my ass in a tree a little longer. I'd be in that tree no matter what, from freezing my nuts off, or I'm not quite freezing my nuts off as bad. So
yeah.
Well, you can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit. That's the reality of it, right? So like you need that stuff to survive, but like Steve said, the industry, it's because it's an industry. If it wasn't an industry, then we wouldn't have these problems because there's no checks and balances on it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tough. Let's learn something real quick because I want to learn some.
Hey, we're all negative Nancy here. We knew we were opening up with it. Something that needs to be discussed, and I think that's everybody's scared to. I'm not, and I think some other people. We need to discuss it so that we do start going down the right path for the younger generations. So we do need to discuss.
And you know what? It starts at the head of the snake. To be honest, so it's guys like us that are gonna do that, and we have to make it that it's important to us, that our family and friends and hunting with our old man and really the reality of it, because people don't discuss the things that they actually go through. Like they just, everybody thinks that, these guys shoot 180s, but they don't understand the bad things that they go through, that they've hunted, 60 days straight and haven't seen the deer, the caliber, like it's a perfect world that they live in. So we need to talk about these things, because if they're not talked about, nobody's going to learn from it. They're just going to go and make the same exact mistakes that we did. Right. That's the reality of it,
Exactly.
So my question to you, Ryan, is like, what are you doing now to prep for the next season? Like, what are you doing today?
For me, every Saturday I am in the woods. Last Saturday, unfortunately, we got about a foot plus of snow in the mountains. So typically, even snow won't keep me out. But when it gets like that, to be honest, it's a pain in the ass to really read the sign good and to walk around. It kind of sucks. So I don't miss too many Saturdays. But last Saturday I took off, but pretty much every Saturday I am in the woods. I kind of tackle it two ways. I will split my postseason up, just boots on the ground. Of course, I do the e-scout and stuff like that to kind of get a general location where I want to be. But I like to break up my postseason scouting into brand new areas, or an area maybe I just started to break down. Then the other half, I go to areas I've been into for multiple years and break that down even more on a micro level. To me, when you start to get into that stage of an area, 3, 4, 5 years to a particular area, once you hone in there and you really start nitpicking micro level type, you're picking that kill tree. Those areas there, man, that's what I'm really trying to key on. This is a long-term process for me, like my scouting, and on that micro level for those areas. Because that's when I get in there and I can really break it down to the kill tree. I get 5 or 6 good solid areas like that, and the rut rolls in. Those are kind of areas I kind of stick to. I don't bounce around a lot. Those are kind of areas I like to try to break down and have those in my back pocket. When it gets good, I'm really confident going to those areas and killing.
So what are you looking for? So say in those micro areas, right? Like you have, say, like a flat, right? Or some type of like really travel corridor. And are you looking for like the actual rut sign to be near? Or are you looking for like, what are you trying to hone in on?
Like when it all starts, like I said, it's on a more of a macro level. That's when like your e-scout and stuff like that. I'll drop some pins in a general area. It could be off a clear cut or off some steep terrain or something like that. Just all depends. I'll go into those areas and I'll work off them. You do it long enough, becomes like a sixth sense. I guess you can say you get an area, it feels really good, and you're kind of like, okay, why am I getting this vibe? I'll slow it down in those areas. And like I said, I'm looking at this at a macro level. I start to look at the big picture. I'm like, why is like all these scrapes, all these rubs, all these beds, depending on the situation, I'm starting to figure out why this is all going on down there in this particular area. I'm breaking it down to macro level. Like when you're in the mountains of big woods, my opinion, you have to look in a bigger general area of all the ridges and points and crossings and all the clear cuts. How does all these pieces of the puzzle that may cover a half a mile, 3/4 mile area all come together where I'm at? Like this is telling me something. These whitetails want to come through this particular area for like a rut situation. So that's how I'm kind of getting that area like on a macro level on that bigger scheme, looking at everything. But now on a micro level, that's when I'm starting to break it down to, I'm walking each trail out. I'm reading the sign from the past season and historical sign from seasons past. The scrapes, the rubs. I'm looking for tracks, big tracks. Maybe there's a creek crossing there. How much has that creek been utilized? I'll start to break all that down. In a lot of areas, if it's a newer area like that, I won't always necessarily go in that area to hunt it the following year. That's maybe where I put a camera in that general location, like an SD cam on a video mode over a big scrape or a mock scrape, and let that soak for a season. I'll let that camera hunt for me for a season. Now, there is situations I go into, and I've been doing this long enough, and be like, I need to be in here next year. So I'll run some cameras in the summer. There's some big velvet bucks in there. Okay, I need to come in here. A lot of times, though, I'll just let a camera soak in there. When I pull that camera, and I'll start breaking that down, say, I'm a rut guy. So that last, week or so, the 20th, 22nd, 23rd October, through the whole way through Thanksgiving, I'm starting to look at the pictures. I don't care if they're nighttime so much. I just want to see consistently a mature bucks work in that area. If I'm seeing multiple big mature bucks, daylight, nighttime, all right, now I need to come back in there, and now I need to break this really down to micro level, start looking at that sign on a more detailed level to where now I'm starting to tighten that noose down to one or two trees that are going to work in a particular area for me. As a rut hunter, I'm always looking for, how I say it is, I'm always looking for a diversity of habitat and terrain. If you get both of those coming together in one area, to me, that's prime. You got multiple things coming in one location. Basically, like multiple roads coming to one central location. That's that kill tree. That's what I'm trying to do. I may have multiple kill trees in a general location because, say, an area sets up good where I can hunt, on the east side of it for a certain wind and on the west side. So some of those situations, maybe getting a hub or something like that, where I can have two kill trees and my access might be totally different for each one, but that gives me two awesome options in that particular area.
That's right, and that's what I was trying to figure out. So then with that, like when you go in there, like say now, right? Like right now, guys are going in there in the snow and they're seeing A, food sources, and
Yeah.
B, like old rubs, old scrapes, so on and so forth. Like what are you using those for? Like those trees that have food under them now, are they gonna have food on them when you're gonna go in and hunt them? Like are they using those ones? Let's say the red oaks, right? Because that's what they're eating right now.
Yeah, I tell guys food is very important, but this is where I'm different from a lot of guys. I'm very open minded. Like I will hunt a whitetail the whole way on top of a ridge. I'll hunt them in the bottom of creek bottom. I don't care. If they're telling me they're there, I'm going to go hunt them there. Um, when it comes to like the food, I'm not going to say I don't pay attention to it, but in a rut situation, they're looking for doe. And of course, the doe are feeding. But man, when the rut starts kicking in, I'm more concerned with bedding. That's my priority for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the food is a piece of the puzzle. But typically, when I first go in to do my initial scouting, I'm looking for cover. I'm from Pennsylvania. In the area of Pennsylvania I'm from, gets the shit beat out of it, especially in rifle season. So I'm more concerned for security cover because what I've seen is food is king. Absolutely, food is extremely important. They got to eat, and we all know the importance of that. But their will to survive when they're getting shot at and driven and everything in gun season, man, they need security cover. And to me, that's what I'm looking for first is what's going to hold the mature buck, what's going to get him through multiple years to get some, become a mature buck. And deer in general, I'm always looking for. But me, I'm breaking that down. I'm looking for the doe bedding areas, looking for security cover, the steep terrain. The food is important, like I said. But once I find the security cover, then the second piece for me sometimes is the food, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where the does, maybe there's a private ag field 3/4 of a mile off. Okay, I've got the bedding area, I got private ag. Even during them rut, them doe are probably going to be going back and forth pretty, kind of figure that out a little bit, But you said all that just kind of plays in a little bit with the food and bedding. Like I said, I'm just not a big food guy. It's important early and late, but during the rut, I tend to back off the food a little bit. Like I said, there are situations, like I said, a private ag field away, maybe a big hot red oak or white oak or whatever. I hunt a lot of areas have a lot of clear cuts, a lot of different age structure and clear cuts. So that is, to me, some of the best food source there is, browse wise, on these clear cuts. So a lot of times, like me, I'd rather hunt an area that has multiple clear cuts around it. I don't really sit right on top of the food. I'd rather hunt those multiple clear cuts, which I know the does are going to be embedded. Them does are going to be in there feeding, and then bucks know that, but they're going to cruise in between all those bedding areas, all those clear cuts. I kind of like to get in the middle of all that stuff. That's what I'm always kind of looking for.
Because you're hunting them when the deer are going from when the bucks are going from bedding to bedding to bedding to bedding, and the does are going bedding to food. So you're in the area where they're going bedding to food, where the does are, because that's where the bucks are going to be. But your big thing is you want to be in between bedding or tight to one bedding where they're going to be at.
I believe security cover in a pressure area is the number one thing. I believe security cover trumps food in pressured areas. That's just my opinion and what I've seen.
Well, because they have the will to survive, right? And if they're gonna go and hide in the thickest, nastiest, gnarliest stuff that nobody else is gonna go in, because they don't know what's going on. I mean, it's like us in 4th of July. I mean, there's just shooting and everyone's pushing pressures on you. So what are you gonna do? Hide underneath your bed, right? I mean, like, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Like I said, food, and like I said, situational too. Like I said, you give me a private ag field, half a mile, 3/4 mile away, and I can see that on a map, and I see multiple clear cuts, and there's point A, point B. I pretty much know what's going to go on in that situation routinely with those does back and forth, and I know what them bucks are going to do. That's just a killer setup in there. You have to find that pinch in between there, but that's bed to food. Now, once them does start to get some pressure on them, they tend to me, they're not really going to go out to that ag as much, or different times, I guess you could say, because they start to get a lot of pressure from the younger bucks, particularly. They're always harassing them. So they tend to hole up in some other areas once the rut really gets going and those start coming to heat. That changes a lot of things too.
Because you're saying that the younger bucks are pushing them around a ton and putting the stress on them.
You'll see. I think that changed. That's why I said the food source is sometimes a primary food source. Them young bucks and your 2 and 3-year-olds really start bumping them does and harassing them. Sometimes they're not going to the primary food source as much. Maybe they're going to a secondary food source. That's where you got to figure that part of the piece in too.
So when you're scouting now, you're looking to see where those deer were heavily in that area, because now, like you said, you're putting a camera in a spot to see what it's doing for year after year after year, right? And having that do the work. So the areas that you're mostly scouting are the ones that you hunted because you've made that plan to hunt in those kill trees. It might not worked, or it might have worked, but now you're looking for other areas around it because because you didn't have the chance to be in those areas in that time.
Well, like, what do you mean? I might misinterpret your question here. Sorry about that. Like, I have my primary spots where I have my kill trees, and then I have these other spots that maybe are going to be future kill trees, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
Like, I'm always an index, a catalog of spots. I have, like, when I go into the rut, this is how I look at it. Once it starts, I take off a month's vacation. It starts the rut. I may be still fairly mobile and bouncing around a little bit that last week of October a little bit. But once it hits and them bucks are cruising, and I know they're up on their feet, say it's a 2-week window, just throw it out there, 14 days. I don't want to be in 14 different stands. I don't want to do it. I want 3 or 4 of my best, the best stands I want. These are the prime stands where I'm going to spend 2, 3, 4 days in this area. And if it's hot and I'm getting away of entry and exit, I'm not blowing it up, I'll just sit there. I don't give a shit. It's 14 days. I'll kill them on day 14 or I'll kill them on day 1. That's my mindset when it comes to the rut. That's where you got to be a little patient, in my opinion. You can move a little too much. But like I said, I like to just have a handful at the most of really prime spots in the prime time of the rut where I can bounce around a little bit. It ain't happening here. Okay, I'm going to move over here. That's where, your camera and of course, can help a little bit too, SD or cells. That can help a little bit dictate where you want to be too. But that's how I play the game. But I'm always looking for 2, 3, 4 years down the road, because logging company comes in, pressure comes in, you lose your spot. things change all the time in the timber. So I'm always looking at new spots, putting a camera in, doing some scouting, part of my postseason in these new areas. So I always have backups, always. And hey, you may pull a camera down there, say in the summer, because what I can do in a brand new area, I'll let that camera soak in the summer. I'm going to pull that at least in September, and then I'll let it soak through the fall. If I got 3-4 big shooters on there, well, now I got to you got to well, I don't think I want to not hunt here now. That's where you can put the stand on your back. You got to do your in-season scouting and go in and hunt that way also.
Right. And how are you judging on like if you're blowing out an area or whatever? So say you go into an area, like are you just like if you go in the first day and you see 12 deer and then the next day you go in and you see 8 deer and then the next day you go in and see 3 deer, like then is that how you're gauging if you're blowing deer out?
Depending on the area, if I get down in like some farm country, higher deer density area, I will see that. You can tell you're really putting a lot of pressure. Your access isn't clean. The wind and thermals, you're starting to cheat a little too much, and so you're starting to blow the area up. What I noticed in the mountains, a lower deer density area, them bucks tend to seems like they kind of you're sitting in a tree and they're all doing these big loops. It may take them a day, 2-3 days. So whatever comes by today may not come by 3-4 days. Sometimes that in those situations, even the does sometimes, a lower deer density area, the deer covering in those areas seem to be covering a little more ground. I don't think you get picked off quite as much for your ground scent and stuff like that. Like you're not getting busted every day like you would in like a high deer density area in a farm country. So I think I can hunt a spot a little bit more in a lower deer density area like the mountains or big woods than I can in the farm country.
No, it makes absolute sense because it's the same for us, right? Being in the mountains, like you're not seeing those same bucks every single day. Like
Yeah.
it's the same on the cameras. You're not seeing those
Yeah.
bucks all the time, unless that's their core area that they're always
Yeah.
in all the time.
Yeah. It's very rare. You'll hear guys talk like in the farm country, that buck's consistently coming to the scrape every night, every 2 nights. I don't see that very often. Every so often, you will get a buck that his core areas must be pretty small or something, or maybe he just knows that doe group's going to come in, and I'll pick him up consistently, maybe 3 times in a week. That's consistent in the mountains for me. Usually, it's like once a week or every 2 weeks you'll see a buck. Now, of course, that's just what the camera's telling you. We all know the camera misses a lot also, but I just don't see that consistency in the mountains. Like I said, I think that's where you need to kind of really pick a spot and kind of give it time to let the deer do their thing and come by you to get a shot opportunity in the big woods mountains.
So my question on the big woods, kind of mature big woods deer, and one thing that I've seen a ton, and I want to see if you relate to this, is a lot of those big mature deer, they don't lay down a lot of sign. Like it only in their like super core area do they'll lay down that sign, but you're not. Like you would walk into an area and you'd see like, a rub here, big community scrape. You put on the community scrape and there's a giant mature deer on it. And then you're chasing yourself trying to find that sign. Like, where is this deer living? Where is he coming from? What's he doing? And you're not finding it unless you are in that minute little tiny area that he calls home.
Scrapes are king in the big woods mountains. Scrapes is where you will consistently get your mature bucks on camera. What I've been doing is I don't see a lot of big rubs. Like you said, you get around their bedding, like especially that early October bedding, you'll find a lot of big rubs in general around those locations. It seems like when the rut comes in, they kind of bed wherever a lot of times it seems to be. It's very inconsistent. But what I key in on is I'm a rut hunter, so I'm hunting a funnel basically. Some sort of funnel, that's what I'm trying to do. What I key on anymore is I don't really find a lot of big rubs, but I key in on is aggressive sign. That's either saplings the size of your thumb, your finger, that are just sheared off, okay? I don't want to see one. I want to see from this past year when I'm scouting, I see a couple in that general location coming through that funnel of some aggression, or there's some scrapes that just, the licking branches are just sheared off. You can tell something snapped them off, or like I said, those saplings. What also I'd like to do is I see old ones from years past. That aggressive sign. When I see that aggressive sign, historically wise, in a general location, I know mature bucks feel safe going through that area. That is really what I key in on in spots.
And that's what you're looking for this time of year, is
that. For when it comes to that kind of sign, it doesn't always happen. Some of my best spots don't have shit for sign. Right. A lot of times here's the hot sign. And this is where guys make a mistake. There's scrapes, there's rubs. They could be big rub size of your thighs. Everybody's hunting right there. Well, if you're off over here, is where you're going to kill them. And you got to remember that. That's what a lot of guys make mistakes. If you look at a pie plate, dead center of that pie plate, man, that's where it's all at, right here, right here. A lot of guys are going right dead center in that pie plate. The access sucks, the wind sucks, the thermal sucks, everything sucks, but that's what sign is. Man, if you come down here and hunt off numbers at 7 o'clock or over here at 4 o'clock, just on that edge, you're not in the wheelhouse, but you're just on the edge of that wheelhouse. That's where you're going to kill him. He's going to come through there cruising. You're going to get a 25-yard shot at him. Maybe someday he's 50 yards out, but then he's 20, 25. You got to play that a little bit. You get right in the heart of that. Yeah, you can go in day one and kill him, absolutely. But to me, like I said, in the mountains, big woods, I've got to get that spot time to work out. So just come off the edge of it, of that hot sign. Plus, and we all know mature bucks don't like to do what everybody else does. Even all that hot sign there, if they skirt that edge like they like to do, you're in the wheelhouse.
That's like big trails that if you find big, cow pasture trails, right? And you're looking for those big bucks aren't going to travel on those very rarely, right? I mean, you're going to try and kill them on the outskirts of it.
They will. Like I tell guys, they walk down trails, yeah, but you'll do is they'll walk down trail and they veer off it and they might go back on it. And you got to play that away. Like that's on the micro level, breaking stuff down. When you get into a spot, you got to look where that edge is. Where's that transition that he's going to maybe hug for security cover? Where's I love tall guys. It's like bass fishing. Everybody talks about structure in bass fishing and fishing in general. When I get in a spot, I love when there's bushes and blowdowns and all that kind of shit, because I'll stand back and visualize that spot of all these blowdowns. You can kind of figure out, you can utilize that stuff. They like it, the mature bucks. They like that cover, that sense of security in amongst that spot. But you can play that in where you can set your stand. You can J-hook into a spot and use that cover where he has to go around it. It doesn't look like a lot of guys are going to miss that. That's the little details when you're breaking down the micro level to set your kill tree to where that's where you set up a shot.
That makes so much sense, because they don't want to put themselves out there in the straight daylight, because they have to have that type of security where it could be do you have a lot of mountain laurels where you hunt at? Or yeah.
Yep.
So you're hunting mountain laurels too, just like us, and you're looking for those gateways. You're looking for those big, just the big throughways to get through the mountain laurels. So they're not going to come out of it, or they're going to hug the edge of it, but they want to be just completely, they don't want to be fully exposed. They're not going to just come out in it, right? I mean, they want to hide in that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you see it. I mean, yeah, I've seen mature bucks do shit like I said, always and never don't exist in whitetails. Those words, right. Like I said, they always do something. You like, oh, what the hell did you do that for?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, on the average, that's why it's so important to have that security cover, have that structure in an area. A lot of times, especially we're talking pressured whitetails. It's a little different if you don't have as much pressure on them. It's a little different. Even some sections I hunt in the mountains and big woods. During bow season, I'm back inner way sometimes. You're back inner mile and a half, 2 miles. Typically, don't run into anybody, excuse me. And I will see those bucks. It seems, I'm not going to say they put their guard down, but they will go through not open, mature timber so much. You don't see them really do that, but there's still some, greenbrier, still some structure there. But they are out in the open a little bit more off that cover at times,
Absolutely.
You mentioned clear cuts a few times. I've had a little experience with one particular clear cut, but not much other than that. When you've pinned a new clear cut on a new place you haven't, when you get there, boots on the ground, what exactly are you looking for? How are you dissecting that? Are you diving into the clear cut? Are you just skirting the edges looking for sign? And what are you looking for a clear cut that you'll come back to and hunt or abandon it?
There's a few things to look at. I am not a timber guy. Like I said, I like we're talking about the woodsmanship. I got to get better with some stuff with certain things. What I look at a clear cut, how new is it? Is it brand new? They just put it in. Did they leave all the mature oaks still standing? The seed? What type of cut is that? You know what I mean? So I'll go in there, and if I see there's a ton I have one particular area they cut last year. Man, they left a ton of oaks in there. The amount of acorns in there is unreal. So I'll keep track of that. I know years to come, that's only going to get better and better and better. Now, if I go into a cut that's a few years old, handful of years old, and it's get pretty thick to where they're starting not only feed it, they're bedding in it. That's going to be part of my game. Every cut's going to be a little different. If it's new, if it's old, if it's pulled timber, it all plays into it. Like it gets to a certain age for me personally. Once it gets up to that kind of pulled timber, 8 inches, 10 inches, whatever, you can kind of see straight through it. I see them going through it. I don't really see a lot of sign. I tend to gravitate away from that, just me personally. I know guys still hunt those areas. It probably depends what's around that cut. Maybe there is some big mountain laurel near there where it's still effective. It just depends on the situation. But for what I'm looking at the cut itself, first off, it's the age. Is it new? Is it old? Is it prime? And then I just work off that. I'll either go into the middle of the cut, if I can, or I'll be on that transition, that edge where once that cut kind of gets to a certain point where they're feeding and bedding in it, you'll see a lot of sign along that transition. That's where I'll work that transition, that edge, and start taking the sign wherever it's going to maybe find that kill tree is not necessarily at the clear cut sometimes. I'm going to work off of that, find a potential location, and then here, maybe there's another cut that's 300 yards away. So now I got 2 clear cuts here. So the area I'm looking for is over here. Now there's another cut or maybe some thick greenbriers on a ridge, maybe some mountain laurel on the bottom of the creek. Those are all that's going to play into my decision making as I'm working off a cut like that. What everything else in big pictures is lining up. If that makes sense to you guys.
No, absolutely.
I'm not looking at a particular cut. I'm not like concentrating on that one thing. That's a piece of the puzzle. Now let's look at the big picture. Like if you ever take Google Earth and zoom out, that's how my mind works.
Right.
Okay, this looks good, but let's zoom out of here. Let's put this all together. So over here is where you're going to kill him amongst all this stuff.
Like, where's he coming? Where's he going? Where's he want to be? Where's
you're
he?
You're going to get him at the intersection. Multiple bucks. Like I'm not hunting one buck. I don't do that. I hunt multiple. I'm looking for an area that has multiple shooters. Well, if I put all those pieces together, all those clear cuts, all those bedding areas, I do put the puzzle together with the food, and it's all that one. There's an intersection there, and amongst all this stuff, there's 4, 5, 6 things coming together: terrain, habitat, all that diversity. That's what I'm trying to find. That's my goal. That is when my sixth sense goes, oh, this looks good. Sometimes, yes, do I find a creek crossing? That's a singular thing. Maybe there's big, heavy creek crossing. There's a mountain laurel, some clear cuts. It's a great creek crossing for some activity. Yes, that's a place I'll focus on just one thing. But I'd rather have multiple points of ridges. Maybe I'm up high on them ridges where all those points are coming up out of a thick creek bottoms or something, or maybe it's a little lower and all the points are dumping down into a thick, nasty creek bottom or something like that, or there's a bunch of clear cuts up top. Then bucks are running in points back and forth. You get in between all that stuff. That, in my opinion, the Big Woods Mountain, what makes a fantastic kill tree, a funnel, wherever you want to call it during the rut.
And so in the goose world, we would call that the X. You were looking for the X, like where them deer definitely going to come into. That is the spot, the kill tree. That's what, because I think, when you talk clear cuts, I didn't know if, and I think going on piggybacking on what Steve's saying is, you're not looking for a clear cut that's, say 3 years old and it has X, Y, and Z to be able to bring those deer to that. You're looking at it and seeing what the sign is on the outskirts, inside of it, around it, it doesn't matter the year growth of it. You're just using it to the advantage of what it is. And that's just a starting point for you.
That's why, like I said, I'm a lot different from a lot of guys. Probably I keep an open mind. Now a guy sees that clear cut coming off a point of a ridge. There's probably going to be better. Like a lot of times you'll see a lot of the clear cuts. They're on top of a ridge system. There's a point coming off. Sometimes they won't cut that very end of that point. Sometimes you'll get a lot of greenbriers on them points. Sometimes great bedding area. If a bed hunter, he's going to look in and hone in on that stuff. Me, I'm going to look at the big picture. It's like just different techniques, different types of hunting. I'm really open-minded. Hey, maybe I do go in there in early October and I do a bed hunt. Because I found a fantastic buck bed in there scouting. Like I said, I try to keep an open mind for all that stuff in the way I hunt.
Now, being a rut hunter, right? The mid-20s of November that you're normally hunting. Like, what if you find a big buck that's daylighting on a scrape in the middle of you guys start what, September, October?
We start typically first Saturday in October, and we run till I think it's the last Friday before Thanksgiving. We run about the 19th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th of November. We're done early, unfortunately, for PA. I wish they just let the damn thing run, but it is what it is. But typically mid-October or mid-November, we're done bow hunting.
Wow. And then you can't
You
even
gotta travel, though.
you
What's
can't
that?
bow hunt. You can't bow hunt after that time.
No, what happens with us,
Oh.
it goes out a Friday, and then our bear season comes in. It's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think it's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving happens. We have Black Friday, and then Saturday is our rifle opener. So
Oh.
basically, we lose about a week, a little over a week. There's no bow hunting for whitetails. So basically, there's a
Oh.
break here. Bear season comes in for us, and then Thanksgiving, and then our rifle season rolls in for about 2 weeks.
Jeez. Yeah, that's
Then it doesn't
crazy.
pick back up. Then we have about a 2 week. I guess you can say we use flintlocks here,
Yeah.
muzzleloader for late season, and archery comes in a day after Christmas on the 26th every year, less than on Sunday, and it runs for about 2 weeks. That's our late season.
So
To be honest with you, PA is not. It's a good state to hunt, but it can be frustrating with the regulations. No Sunday hunting, of course. We get a couple now. It can be frustrating for sure.
that's the same for us here because we only have Sunday hunt. It's bow hunting on Sundays on private land.
Yeah.
You can't public land hunt, which is tough because if you're on
That
a
drives me nuts, man. You're going to get me fired up again. Why separate hunters? Like, to me, I don't give a shit you're on private or public. How the hell is that fair? That's bullshit.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's frustrating because if you're targeting a certain deer on public land or you have a real
Yeah.
good say I got a really good Saturday morning sit, Saturday afternoon sit. I can't go back in on Sunday. I literally just have to
Yeah.
watch the cameras
Same
melt
here.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
It
It happens here too. Cold front comes in or something comes in. Rainy, shitty day on Saturday. High pressure system comes rolling in or something on a Sunday. It's like, son of a bitch, and you can't hunt. I think we get one Sunday in archery, we get one in bear and one in rifle now, but it's a start. I think eventually next handful of years, hopefully, we can start Sunday hunting across the board. Hopefully,
oh, I just don't understand it. Why we can't? It's the old
it's
blue
dumb.
laws. I mean,
It's dumb.
it's
Yeah.
they're trying to push for it here, but I mean it's just a tough battle, right? I mean it's an uphill battle
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
share those. They say we share the public lands with bird watchers and hikers and this, that, and the other thing, but like our
Yeah. We fund
conservation
it though.
dollars, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
for
Our
sure.
our conservation dollars. And
Yeah.
funny story. We do a ton of waterfowl hunting in late season, January, February, and we had this dude from Newport News in Rhode Island. He was filming us talking about how we were outside of a bird sanctuary or whatever. The bird sanctuary that he was standing on, my conservation dollars paid for it for him to be there. It was it's like just that's a whole
Yeah.
nother story for another day. But
Love the world we live in now.
oh, it's crazy, man. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
it is.
crazy. Ryan, I got one last question, man, before we cut it loose here is
All
what
right.
drives you outdoors?
What drives me? Oof. I mean, I've had this passion since I started hunting when I was 14. Um, it's hard to put in words, to be honest with you. It is a very large piece of my life. Like I said, you got to put God and you got to put your family first. But it is a part of me. It always has been. There's just something about, man, like I cannot wait till every Saturday this time of year to get in the woods and just put boots on the ground and scout and explore. I love just being out in the middle. Like this sounds stupid. I love the Midwest. I enjoy hunting it. And I was in Iowa this year. I almost find it boring. I don't mean to piss anybody off. But when you start hunting the mountains, the big woods, and the vastness, and you are literally in the middle of nowhere sometimes, man, I live for that. Like I take my dog out now this time of year with me. I'll get back in the mountain somewhere, find a nice little spot middle of the day to have lunch and just sit there with my dog, for half hour, 45 minutes, make a fire jet boil up if I'm being lazy and just sit there and enjoy it, man. I mean, that's living. I mean, to me, and that's hunting and that's not even hunting season. If you
Hmm.
understand, it just,
Yeah.
man, the process leading up to it is my drive. I live for the process anymore. To me, that means more to me than the kill. Man, I just love putting the work in, putting the boots on the ground, figuring out this chess match with them. You know what? Good Lord blesses me to kill one. Great. But man, I love just trying to figure them out all year. Put the cameras up, pull the cameras, look at the cards, all that, man. It just gets you fired up.
It gets me fired up. I want to go walk 5 miles right now in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
it's
damn right, man. Damn right.
people just don't understand it. It's a different type of love, man. It's
Yeah, yeah.
and
You want to
everybody.
become a better whitetail hunter. If you want it, I mean, I've said this on multiple podcasts. You want to be a better hunter. It's a great foundation. Listen to podcasts and YouTube and stuff.
Mhm.
You want to be better. You put the boots on the ground and you put your ass in a tree, because the whitetail is the number one teacher.
Mhm. The only way to learn.
Amen.
That's a good way to close it. Ryan, can you just tell everybody where they can find you on social media if you want to be found?
Yep. You can get a hold of me or watch all of my BS that I do on a Saturday walking around, pretty much. Moose 1720 on Instagram. I have a Facebook page. I think last time I checked, I have like 900 and some people trying to friend risk. I don't go on there. I apologize. I'm not being a dick. Go on to Instagram, Moose 1720. I will talk to anybody and bullshit to anybody about whitetails.
Ryan, we really appreciate you jumping on with us. And for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.